Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the book of First Kings, and we are in chapter 9. The Lord appears to Solomon. When Solomon had finished building the temple of the Lord and the royal palace and had achieved all he had desired to do, the Lord appeared to him a second time, as it had appeared to him at Gibeon. The Lord said to him, I have heard the prayer and plea you have made before me. I have consecrated this temple which you have built, by putting my name there forever. My eyes and my heart will always be there. As for you, if you walk before me in integrity of heart and uprightness, as David your father did, and do all I command and observe my decrees and laws, I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever, as I promised David your father when I said, you shall never fail to have a man on the throne of Israel. But if you, and we got a footnote of C here for you, in Hebrew, this is plural. If you or your sons turn away from me and do not observe the commands and decrees I have given you, and again, it's got the same footnote about it being plural, and go off to serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel from the temple I have consecrated for my name. Israel will then become a byword and an object of ridicule among all peoples. And though this temple is now imposing, all who pass will be appalled and scoff and say, why has the Lord done such a thing to this land and to this temple? People will answer, because they have forsaken the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of Egypt and have embraced other gods, worshiping and serving them. That is why the Lord brought all this disaster on them. So that's like a warning, and for us a little bit of a foreshadowing. God is like, don't expect me to hold up my end of the bargain if you go worshiping other gods when I said only me. So like, he gets forewarned in case he decides to act up, because that just means he just from the get is wrong. Solomon's other activities. At the end of 20 years, during which Solomon built these two buildings, the temple of the Lord and the royal palace, King Solomon gave 20 towns in Galilee to Hiram, king of Tyre, because Hiram had supplied him with all the cedar and pine and gold he wanted. But when Hiram went from Tyre to see the towns that Solomon had given them, he was not pleased with them. What kind of towns are these that you have given me, my brother? He asked. And he called them the land of Cabul, C-A-B-U-L. That's got footnote of D. Cabul sounds like the Hebrew for good for nothing, a name they have to this day. Now Hiram had sent the king 120 talents of gold. Let's see. That is about 4.5 tons, or about 4 metric tons. So that's a whole lot of gold. And especially since, like, I know there was more gold in the ground because they hadn't gotten it all out yet, or, and we haven't gotten it all out now either. But understand that gold is incredibly rare in the universe. It takes 2 stars to go supernova at the same time, making a neutrino star, to blast gold into any universe, which means there's possible that there's universes out there that don't have any gold in it at all. So it is a rare thing. So that's a whole lot of gold. Here is the account of the forced labor, i.e. the slaves, King Solomon conscripted to build the Lord's temple, his own palace, and the support terrace. That's got a footnote of F, or the Milo, M-I-L-L-O, which is also in verse 24, the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer. Megiddo, M-E-G Iddo. Hazor is Ahazor. Gezer, Gezer. Which I could be pronouncing any of those wrong. So take that with a grain of salt. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had attacked and captured Gezer. He had set it on fire. He killed its Canaanites inhabitants and then gave it as a wedding gift to his daughter, Solomon's wife. And Solomon built Gezer. He built up Lower Beth Horon, Horon, Baalath, Baalath, which really just means Lord, Baal, or Baal, as some people say, and Tadmor, Tadmor. She's got a footnote of G. Hebrew may also read Tamara, Tamar, in the desert within his land, as well as his store cities and towns for his chariots and for his horses, H, which is charioteers, whatever he desired to build in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and throughout all the territory that he ruled. So when they say that, like the horses and the charioteers, they mean like a stable for the horses and then a building to store the chariots. So, both. They're pretty big. So, and they did just find those in Egypt, right about where the Bible said they would be, because they found the city of Ramesses II with the big chariots and the other inhabitants that had been living in the area, which was the Israeli people that the Egyptians called by another name. So all the people left from the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. These were not Israelites. That is, their descendants remaining on the land, whom the Israelites could not exterminate. I got the footnote of I. The Hebrew term for this is to irrevocably give things over or persons to the Lord, often by totally destroying them. So yeah, like genocide, would be what we're talking about. These Solomon's conscripted for slave labor force, as it is to this day, but Solomon did not make slaves of any of the Israelites. They were his fighting men, his government officials, his officers, his captains, and the commanders of his chariots and charioteers. They were also the chief officials in charge of Solomon's projects. 550 officials supervising the men who did the work. After Pharaoh's daughter had come up from the city of David to the palace Solomon had built for her, he constructed the supporting terraces. 3 times a year, Solomon sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, traditionally called peace offerings. On the altar he had built for the Lord, burning incense before the Lord along with them, and so fulfilled the temple obligations. King Solomon also built ships at Zion, so it looks to me, Ezion, Geber, that's 2 words, 1 name for a place, Ezon Geber, Geber, which is near Elath, Elath, in Edom, Edom, in case anybody didn't know that, on the shore of the Red Sea. Now, it's got a footnote of B, the Hebrew Yam Suf, that is the Sea of Reeds. So it's not on the Red Sea, it's on the Sea of Reeds. And Hiram sent his men, sailors who knew the sea, to serve in the fleet with Solomon's men. They sailed to Ophir, that's Ophir, and brought back 420 talents. Got the footnote of C, that is 16 tons, or about 14.5 metric tons of gold, which they delivered to King Solomon. So he made a land deal, but the guy wasn't too happy, and Solomon got his gold anyway. But you'll also note that as good as everybody thinks Solomon is, still has things like slave labor, just as his father David did before him. And his father David, remember, committed a sin of adultery and then murder, and which to cover up what he did, which came back and got punished by God. Right? So they were still humans and plenty flawed. So not perfect examples of how to behave. There's only really one of those, and we call them the Messiah, or I call him the Messiah currently. But Jesus Christ is that one, right? Perfect person, and the rest of us, even no matter how good they were in the past, always just doing the best they ever could in the moment.